And our next presenter here is John Freeman. John, I believe you have your talk here is "Forget Me, Remember We: How to Hack Better with a Group." I love that. This presentation will cover best practices to finding a group of skilled colleagues to work together in teams to maximize skills against a target. John will provide some background, some tips and tricks on how to best find others who can help, what to look for in potential teammates, best practices in working together, and tools and tricks to help maximize teamwork. And he had even more in there, but I had to kind of cram it down there. So John's got a lot of great information that he's going to share with you real quick in this 30-minute segment. So take it away, John. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jason. And I apologize to everybody. I've got the flu right now. So if my voice sounds really funny, sorry, read the slides. Okay, so today we're going to kind of talk about how to work really as a team, which is what this Level Up session 4 was really about. How you could be better when you collaborate with others. Yep. There we go. So I can't hit space. Great. So a little bit about me. I'm actually a little bit different than most hackers. I'm actually a lawyer. So I read contract, I hack the law, you could say. But at the same time, I do pen test. I do network audits, and that's kind of a hobby to me. So one of the things that you can start off is you don't have to think that you have to have a computer background to really get into this industry. And I'll jump a little bit more into that later, because the more well-rounded of a team you have, sometimes you can find stuff that you would not normally catch if you just really focused on computers. I train and consult for various governments and Fortune 100 companies. So we'll leave that to questions if you want to know exactly what I do. This is more for me to show you something versus me. And I really enjoy breaking things. So hopefully I can show you how you can break the mindset of you have to do it yourself. You can actually now do it with others. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is really nothing new. Today, I want to just kind of reiterate some very common things so that you can understand that, hey, this is okay. A lot of times, and I remember when I started out in the industry 10, 11 years ago, I was really afraid. I was like, well, this kind of seems maybe right, but I've not heard anybody else say it, so I don't know. So instead of teaching you like a new O-Day or how to do amazing things on Zap or OWASP tools, today I'm just going to kind of give you some very simple common knowledge, but at the same time, I hope it now sparks you to go, oh, hey, I thought that was okay. So now somebody else said it, great, I can do it too. I'm going to start off by talking about a group that really made me surprised. I spent a couple of years in Kenya working, and so I worked with the Africa Hack On Collective. It's a group of computer professionals, and they really idealized what is a good team mentality. They had people who specialized in web app. They had people who specialized in network. They had people who did social engineering. They had somebody who specialized in GSM hacking. They had people for mobile app. So they had a wide variety. So when a client came to them and said, hey, I need you to do a pen test on my network, and can you also test my mobile application? They had the skill set right there. Working with these guys in Kenya, it was amazing. It opened my eyes to see that so many different aspects of security could easily overlap with each other. Prior to working with the Africa Hack On team, I was really concerned because I was more of a network person. I love to pen test. I love to break into a server. I love to break things, as I said earlier. But working with these individuals, I saw that some of the skills that I did from a network perspective We're also very useful in mobile applications, for instance, our GSM hacking. And so it was like, oh, great. Thank you for opening my eyes and let me see that even though I focus on one thing, I can spend time and start to learn something else because a lot of the skills overlap. Often when I speak to people in the industry, when I speak at conferences or I go to different events, many people focus on, I want to do one thing. So that could be, I want to only focus on bug bounty, or I only want to focus on mobile app testing. But in reality, don't focus yourself so narrow. You can try to broaden out into different aspects. The more well-rounded you are, the better of a bug bounty person or an attacker or a blue team member or even purple team for those that do both. The more well-rounded you are, the better you're going to be in the role that you are doing. We're going to first start off on how do we find others? Because that is one of the key problems. A lot of people don't understand, how can I collaborate? Philip's talk earlier was great. All throughout yesterday and today, you've heard from many people saying working together does work. It does help. So I'm going to go over just some very key points on how you can find others, what you should look for, and how not to do it. I've been approached by many people throughout the years asking, just like Philip had, can you be a mentor to me? Can you train me? Can you teach me? I really want to do this. But sometimes those people are either a little too enthusiastic or they're just a little too pushy. And that's really not good. In the industry, yes, a lot of the industry people are really forthcoming. They're really open. You can easily message like Jason or Sam on Twitter and they'll get back to you. Same for like Jason Street or other leaders of the industry. So, with that in mind, when you're looking for others, the best thing is just ask. Really, don't be shy. I had that problem. I remember the first conference that I went to way back in early 2000. And even though I had been doing it on my own for many years, I wanted to kind of jump into the industry better and say, hey, can I meet new people? And I stood at the back of the conference hall and I just stood there. I didn't talk to anybody. I was scared too because I was seeing all of these people that I had read on Twitter or I had seen present online. And I'm just like, I froze. I didn't want to talk to anybody. That was the wrong move. I found everybody there was so welcoming. So when I finally went over and said hello to somebody, the first thing they did was start introducing me to everybody else around that they knew. This is our industry. Everybody is open, or well, not everybody, but most people are open. They're willing to help. They want to help. They want to give back. So just don't be shy. Go up to somebody and say, hi, my name is whatever. I am new, or I don't know how to do a mobile app pen test, but I heard your talk. Can you please explain or give me some idea? Everybody here wants to see the industry grow. We want to see you get better bounties when you're on Bug Crowd. We want to see that you do better things if you're working on some open source tools or making your own tool. Also, go to security group meetings, go to different conferences, go to events. The more that you get out and the more that you get known, then it's easier to find people that you want to collaborate with. The first time I had to do a major pen test of a very large scale organization, I was terrified because they gave me a very small window of time to complete the testing. And there was no way I could do that on my own. I was lucky to get the contract, but I was then, once we were scoping it, it was like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is way too much. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I went to a local security meeting, and the people that I knew there, I was like, oh, hey, you specialize in this, or you're very good at that. Would you guys want to help me on this project? And we all can make a little bit of pocket money. And everybody was like, yeah, great. It looks good for resumes. So most people will jump out and say, okay, yeah, I want to help. Or it's a way that they can learn something new. Also, engage in constructive online post chats like Twitter or Discord. The key word here is constructive. Don't just sit there and be negative or troll the whole time, which is funny coming from me, because if you ask anybody in the industry that knows me, I'm probably one of the biggest trolls. And so I will troll you on Twitter. I will troll you at a conference. I was at a security conference in Singapore maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. And I hacked the whole conference and I trolled people throughout the whole conference because I took control of the Wi-Fi and had a blast just messing with people. So don't be me, is what I'm saying. Try to be constructive. Jump in on talks where people are asking, like, what's a new tool to use, or how could I do something? Be able to show what little skill or what vast amount of skill you have. You want to kind of say, hey, I know this, but I don't know that. Can you help me learn that? Or can you help me with that? And another good way to really get where you meet a lot of people that are wanting to help and would love to collaborate with you is to contribute on an open source security project. If you are a coder, which I find a lot of people doing bug bounties, they do have a coding background. Jump and try to write some code for like OWASP tools, or try to fix a problem that you might see if you're using Metasploit, or write a module for Metasploit. Doing this, you'll see that overnight you'll have so many people that are like, hey, great job, can you help me with this, or can I help you do something? Your group of people that you can then call on becomes so huge almost overnight. I don't have a coding background, and so often I have to go to people that I know and I say, hey, I've got something in Java, can you take a look at it, because I don't write Java. And I've been able to find these people because I have contributed on some open source projects. And so I know who then to go to kind of look at, okay, can you help me? How not to find others. This is actually one of probably the best things I hope you pay attention to. As I said, and even Philip said earlier, like many people come to him and they offer him money to train. Same with me. Don't just think money is our motivation. A lot of people in the industry, they will help you because they want to help you. They like to help get everybody in the industry better and more well equipped. So as I put on the slide, don't pester. Don't, if somebody doesn't answer immediately, don't go crazy. Don't threaten to hack them. Um, don't be a nuisance, I guess is the best way to sum this up. I've had people come to me, and one example that I remember very vividly to this day, a gentleman asked me to help him learn how to do a internal pen test versus an external, because he had only done external before. And so I was willing to help him, and I told him, I'm quite busy right now. I will come back to you in a day or two, and we can sit down, get on a conference call, and I'll walk you through what I do when I do an internal pen test versus what I do when I do an external. About 2 hours later, he started messaging me, hey, why haven't you responded? Why are you just not answering my questions? 2 hours, 3 hours after that, he then started threatening, I will dox you, I will hack you, you need to help train me. Yeah, no. That's the easiest way to have somebody block you and just not deal with you. And depending on how well known they are in the industry, they could also start talking. And that could be a problem because once you get a lot of a negative reputation, unfortunately, word does travel fast in our industry. What to look for in your potential teammates. You can't always have that perfect rock star anytime you need. So when I'm looking at people, I tend to look for people who complement my skills. I'm good on network attacks, but I'm not so good on coding. I can write a nasty exploit. I did that to pass my OSCP courses. For those who are OSCP, you know what I'm talking about. But I try to find people who do understand code better, who can look at something and be able to understand where there is a problem in the syntax so that it can help me attack. I'm not an expert on mobile apps. And so if I need to do something with a mobile app, I will find somebody that I can work with who is more of an expert on mobile app. So find somebody who complements your skills. Find somebody who's really excited about the project or the bounty that you need help with. There's been many of times I've reached out to somebody and asked them for help, and they're like, yay, yeah, I can help you, but I really don't like what you're doing, or oh, that's going to be too much work, that's way too boring, I'll do it as a favor, but really I don't want to. So if somebody's excited, they're motivated, you will find they make a much better teammate. They are more active, they will help. Where if somebody's not as excited, then you might have problems with them. Willingness to share or the willingness to learn. Anytime you work together in a group as a collaboration, you should share talents and skills that you know, and you should want to learn from others. As I said, with point number one, people that complement your skills, you're looking for somebody that knows something that you don't. And so you want to be able to learn from them. You want to be able to share what you do know in the group. I found people who didn't want to learn, they thought they knew everything. They don't make great team members. You want somebody that can communicate. When you work as a group, you need to be able to talk and to explain things, because what you're seeing, somebody else might not see, and they need to be able to replicate that to do what they need to do. And then you also want to find somebody that has availability. As I said before, if somebody's not excited, they might be busy. Oh yeah, I'm going to help you, but only got 1 hour this week. So if they have no availability, it's going to be hard to collaborate. That doesn't mean they have to always be available whenever you call, but you do want to have that group that people are available. And this isn't really a necessity, but a good point to have. You want somebody that can handle stress or prior experience. Sometimes when you're doing a bug bounty, you're doing a pen test, you're doing a simulated attack, it is stressful. You've got a tight deadline to meet, you need to get something done, and if you're just not making the headway that you think you need, then you're going to get stressed, and that goes for the whole team. So if people have prior experience, great, they can usually handle that, they understand that. If not, as I said, it's not a necessity, but it does help. Tips for working together as a team. Communicate. Communicate. Repeat step one. The biggest problem with working as a team is a lack of communication. And it's hard when you go from being the only person working on a project to now trying to work with others. You need to learn to communicate and to share and to really talk. A lot of times, one of the best things that I do when I work with a group, we'll all hop on a voice chat. That way we all can talk. Even though we might be doing separate things, we all can just explain what we're doing and what we're seeing. You want to be able to listen to the whole team. Don't think that you know everything. Everybody will have their own point. They might be seeing an attack vector that you're not. Help train and learn from each other. The more that I work in a team with other people, the more I do learn. I can now reverse a mobile app because I've worked with teams who did it and I watched and I learned from them. Give each member very clear tasks. If somebody's to port scan a certain IP range, let them port scan that while somebody else is maybe looking at open source intelligence information on LinkedIn. And be very flexible. Don't be so rigid where, oh, I completed the task that I did, so I do nothing else until I'm told to do something again. You've got to work together in a very flexible manner to be able to get done when you need to get done. You also want to decide ahead of time how to split the payment. Everybody cares about money, so make sure that you work out ahead. Are you going to weight it on who contributes more? So maybe
Hey,
the
John,
person. Yeah.
pause just for one. So sorry, man.
Okay.
The stream died for some reason. Give us one moment here.
Hey, no problem.
Well, I guess while we're here, so your weighted example, like how are you? So is it like Bob does most of the work in the situation, so he gets most of the like earnings,
Yeah,
or
so I've actually, and we've come, I've come across this in various groups, and so with the weighted example, so Bob, like, so I'll use a really example with some of the people that I've worked with before. So we had to do a external pen test and simulated attack, and at the same time, they wanted us to test their mobile app. When we first started, we figured the network attack and the test would be the most work, but that actually went very fast and very easy. We found that the mobile app, just the way that they had written it and obfuscated it, it was a mess to work with. And so we went, and from a weighted example, the guy who did the mobile app test, because it was so much more work, we put him at like the 2x where everybody else got the 1x, just based on the amount of work that was done.
Huh. Yeah, because I've always found that like sometimes I feel kind of bad because like me and a couple of my friends always join a team. We always split everything 50-50. And, you know, sometimes it's like one of my friends does a really great amount of work and I'm always like, I know we agreed to 50-50, but if you want to take the whole earning, like you might as well. Like you pretty much found this on your own.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, like, and that's just how it is. It just comes and goes with bug bounties and like, yeah, I mean.
Yeah. So in a lot of cases, like when I'm scoping it, we can already kind of tell who out of the team is probably going to do more than another.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just as a team, like, are we all going to evenly split it, or are we going to do more of a weighted? Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I run into is I like the skill set like involved in each vuln, right? So like I always have a hard time thinking like, okay, so I use my really good recon skills to find a host that person wouldn't normally, my partner would have normally not found, right?
Yep.
And then he finds a vulnerability, which isn't like technically like hard to do for like something like XSS or something like that, but he actually found the vulnerability on that host and I didn't. So like I always have a trouble like figuring out like who gets what. Is that 50-50 or is like finding the host easier? Was exploiting the cross-site scripting easier? So like I always have trouble with that.
Yeah, and this is something I've like also ran into in like the last private bug bounty we went to. Like we were all just working in a big group, and then we were like, oh, we can drop UART shells onto this, and like, you know, Control C drops you into a shell, and then somebody like in another part of the room was like, oh, you know, submitted as a vuln, cool, got a bounty, and then it was like, okay, like he just got the whole bounty, nobody argued, but it was like, well, you know, like this other person is the one that pointed it all out,
Yeah.
Right.
is the one that kind of did all of it. But,
I mean, this could be an hour-long talk on itself.
So we are live, by the way, but we got
Cool.
back. So yeah, we've caught these last couple minutes actually.
Good.
We can go through the final couple slides and but yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for your guys' patience, for both you Spectres and Jeff, but also everyone else who's watching. Thank you for your patience, and yeah, let's get back into it.
Perfect timing. We broke it at the great point. The how to kind of really decide who gets paid what when you're working as a team. As some of you all might have heard, we were going through various cases that did happen. You really need to decide this at the beginning. It's not good to try to go, okay, we're midway through, we found these things, now how do we decide to break the money up? You want to decide at the beginning, is the guy who did a little bit more going to get paid more because he worked harder, or are we going to split it all evenly? As I was saying, I don't know if the viewers heard earlier, sometimes when scoping out what you need to do as a team, you can decide at that point, well, it might be more work for Bob, but not so much for Joe. So let's go ahead and give Bob 2x of what we receive and Joe gets 1. Where if it really scoped out, everybody is contributing equally, then maybe it does work better to kind of make that even split where everybody gets the same amount. There is no one rule to solve this problem. You just have to really attack it on a case-by-case basis. And sometimes, yeah, you might feel you didn't make enough for what you did. Other times you might feel, oh, well, I made too much. I really didn't contribute so much. So maybe next time with the group, we'll kind of spread that out a little bit better. Usually when you are working as a team, you will have sometimes that one non-team player. With that non-team player, you really want to try to explore more of why they're not working well with the team. Could it be something happening at home or at work that's affecting them? You do want to name what you notice, but don't blame or shame anybody. So if you notice somebody's not doing something properly, you just say, hey, maybe this is a better way to do it, and not, hey, Bob, you didn't do that right. You also make a specific request or a task for that person and see if they can do it if it's very specific. Sometimes people just they don't operate really well on abstract. So if you say go attack the server, they might not know exactly what to do. But if you say, hey, go run a port scan on the server and then any port open, try to brute force it, then they'll be able to be that team player better. And then always invite feedback and comments from everybody on the team. That way you grow as a team and you learn how people felt or what didn't work, what did work. And unfortunately, if all else fails and it's not working, well, sometimes you do have to remove that person. It happens. I've removed best friends of teams that I was working on just because they didn't gel with the whole team. When working together, there are various tools that do help. I'm a huge fan of Faraday. Faraday lets you collaborate and see what everybody's doing in almost real time. The same with Dratus and Attack Forge. Attack Forge is one of the newer ones. Starting to like it a tad bit more than Faraday, but they all have their own unique ability or unique position in what you can do. When working in a large team or even a small team, that communication is the key because you need to see what others are doing so you don't overlap what they're doing. And these tools actually help that. You can go and see, did somebody do a certain test? Are they in the attack chain that you decided? So look out. You can do this over Skype. You can use Google Docs. You can do however you want, but these are 3 of the more popular tools that people are using to collaborate these days. And does anybody have any questions?
Well, we are kind of in this weird state where the stream is going like in and out on the YouTube live stream right now. I am recording all this stuff locally as well, so we will have recorded versions.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can drop and let everybody know that I am in the Discord. So if anybody does have any questions, just hit me up and I'll answer them.